Everyone, as you heard from Renee, my name is Hillary Tellison, and I am the Workforce Project Leader at Valley Vision. I'm really excited to be here so that we can have a fruitful discussion on firefighting careers in the North and Far North regions. Just want to make sure everyone knows we are recording this so that we can access it later. It'll be on our website.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Nice to see everybody here. My name is Karen Hubbard, and I serve as the Assistant Director of Employer Partnerships with a focus on health and public safety. I represent the 8 colleges in the northern region from American River College to Lake Tahoe. My primary role is to focus on fostering partnerships between employers and community colleges to help create work-based learning opportunities. I want to really just take a minute to thank everybody for participating in this advisory, because your contributions are vital to the continued success of our programs. And Gustavo is going to drop in the chat for me a little flyer with my information and a summary of my roles. Thank you.
Yeah, we want to make sure we thank Karen Hubbard from the Far North Regional Consortium. She's the Assistant Director of Employer Partnerships for Health and Public Safety, and she's been an incredible assistance to the planning of this advisory. So thank you, Karen, and thank you, Gustavo, for dropping the flyer into the chat when you get a chance. I'm not keeping tabs on that right now. For those of you that are just joining, please make sure in the chat you introduce yourself and your contact information if you care to share it. We'll be collecting that information and making sure those of you that are willing to share it can connect with each other and have that later on. So for those of you who might be joining for the first time, Valley Vision is a civic leadership organization whose mission is to bring communities together to tackle the region's biggest challenges and ensure a more livable future. 21st Century Workforce is one of our organization's multiple impact areas, and we serve as a regional organizer to facilitate employer, industry, and community collaboration, which is what we're doing here today. Our goals are to connect and align, and we hope that bringing industry stakeholders together to review the state of this specific industry sector will generate meaningful, data-driven initiatives to create a stronger regional talent pipeline that preps our workforce for success. Today, we are incredibly grateful for all of our speakers and employers who came today, and the representatives from the community colleges who have shared with their expertise to put this advisory together. And we're excited to discuss this important industry of firefighting career pathways in the Sacramento region and the far north. Karen already introduced herself, so now I'm just going to pass it over to Gustavo, who's going to go over some housekeeping and the agenda for today.
Thank you for the handoff, Hillary. Just for some quick housekeeping, we do have a couple of rules just to make sure that we have a nice and smooth running program. If possible, we'd love to see your faces, so enabling your video camera is optional but highly preferred by us. Please stay on mute unless you're called on to ask a question. Submit all of your questions and commentary using the chat function, and this meeting is also recorded and will be provided as part of the post-meeting materials. And also something that we noticed, this is professionally an oopsie by myself. I have sent the link, my own personal registration link, to people. So if you could double check that your name isn't Gustavo Garcia and change it, if you click on the top right of your own box on the 3 little dots at the very bottom, it should give you an option to rename yourself. And if you aren't able to, for whatever reason, please feel free to put it in the chat and we'll rename you personally. But to kind of go on a little bit further, here's the agenda that we have for today. We have our welcome and introductions. In a little bit, I'll be handing this over to Hillary again to introduce our keynote, Chief Felipe Rodriguez. And then afterwards, we'll be having some labor market and trend analysis from Sarah Phillips and Ebony Benzing. We'll also be having a bit of a stretch break because who likes sitting down on their seats for an entire program, right? And we'll be coming back for a panel discussion. Later on, we'll be highlighting some program offerings and college partnerships from the area. And then finally, we'll be concluding it. And with that, I'll be passing it back over to Hillary to introduce our keynote.
Thank you, Gustavo. Before we do introduce the keynote, there's a few more people that we need to thank, so we would like to thank our supporters who have continuously aided our efforts to plan and execute these advisory events. These advisories are primarily funded from the community colleges through strong workforce program funds. Our region is the North Region Community Colleges, which includes Los Rios Community College District, Sierra College, Lake Tahoe College, and Woodland and Yuba College. In addition to that, we have funding from the workforce boards in the Capital Region. That includes SETA, Sacramento Works, Golden Sierra Job Training, North Central County Consortium, and YOLO Works. I also want to do a shout out to our planning team, mainly Gustavo. Thank you so much for all the tech and everything that you put together for this event for our region. Without further ado, we'll get started with our keynote speaker, Chief Felipe Rodriguez. Chief Felipe Rodriguez was born and raised in San Francisco, California, and moved to the Sacramento area after graduating from high school. He enlisted in the United States Navy in 1994, where he was trained as a hospital corpsman. Chief Rodriguez earned a Master's of Science degree in Emergency Services Administration and a Bachelor of Science degree in Occupational Studies, both from California State University, Long Beach. He completed the National Fire Academy Executive Fire Officer Program and is a certified executive fire officer. Chief Rodriguez was hired by the City of Stockton Fire Department in 1999, then hired by the City of Oceanside Fire Department in 2012. And in 2017, Chief Rodriguez was hired as the City of Folsom Fire Chief. In 2020, Chief Rodriguez was hired by the Casumnas Community Service District to serve as its fire chief. He is an advocate of developing personnel for succession planning and diversifying the fire department to reflect the community. He is married and has 5 children. He greatly enjoys family time, coaching sports teams for his children, camping, hiking, and sailing. Chief Rodriguez is honored to attend today, and we are honored to have him. Thank you so much for coming to speak to our group today. And I'll pass it over to you.
Thank you so much, Hillary. And a big thank you to Valley Vision for asking me to speak today. It's quite the honor. And I know there's some who are on this call right now and some who may be listening at a later time since this is being recorded. So my hope today is to try to connect a little bit of those dots for those who might be interested in becoming a firefighter one day. And I see several on this call right now with the 35 participants who are here. Some of you are my friends, even coworkers, and those who I've known for some time. And then hopefully some who I'll get to know in the future, and many others who may be listening sometime down the road and be able to gain some tips on what it takes to become a firefighter. Really grateful to Valley Vision for all the work you're doing in aligning the future workforce, and especially here in the 21st century and where we're going into the future. So as I've spoken to some of the groups in the past, I've always reflected on one of the lines in one of the statements from Steve Jobs, who spoke at one of the commencement ceremonies. And he spoke a little bit about something that's very, very important. And that's whenever we're preparing or we're going through something, we don't really realize what's in the future, like the dots that will be connected and how to get there. But we do look back, as he did after he was in his garage building the first Mac, looking back 10 years later, saying that's exactly why that happened. Those dots were connected at that time. So the work that we're doing, the preparation that we have, some of the things that will come up today, and the questions that will be asked by hopefully some of the participants who will one day be firefighters, they may not realize that right now that hard work and the perseverance that was mentioned here a little bit ago is what you're working on, and those dots that will be connected. And as your keynote today, I realized that it was those dots that I didn't know back in the early 90s as my bio was being read, and I was listening to that time where I joined the Navy, and I realized I had to, because it was in the early 90s, right after I graduated from high school, that I applied at the fire department. You know, one of my dream departments to work in was the San Francisco Fire Department, where I grew up, and I didn't make it, and I didn't score high enough to be hired. And I was sad, of course. And then I went to Sacramento, where I moved here after high school, and went to CRC and took as many classes I could to better myself and to be more successful during the hiring process. And I tested in Sacramento Fire Department, and I didn't make it. And that started to happen. And they would ask questions like, what have you done to prepare yourself? And have you ever been in the military? Have you ever worked on an ambulance? Have you ever did this or that? And all my answers were like, no, no, no. And I realized I need to do something to prepare myself to be successful and to do better in the next process. So there I was, joined the Navy and learned quite a bit. And it was an honor to serve our country, of course, and come back and continue on pursuing my dream to be a firefighter. I wanted to be a firefighter since I was 7 years old. And I went ahead and prepared myself and took another test, and guess what? You don't make it. 7 years later, I got the call, and I was so excited to get that call, and we're going to give you a shot. And that's all I asked for, was that shot and that opportunity to prove myself, to work hard, to earn it. And then here it is years later, and now serving as the fire chief. Never thought I would. Wanted to always be a captain. And sometimes I look back and I say, maybe I should have just been a captain. It would have been fun to be in that front seat and responding to 911 calls. But in my current position, I love being the fire chief. I love serving. I love giving back to the community, as mentioned, succession planning, developing others, aligning people to be successful. But it is that work and that hard work that it takes to be hired, to be successful during the process, and to never give up. And that's one of the most important things, is that there will be failures, and you will look back and realize one day those dots are now connected, and that's exactly why that happened. So for those who are testing or currently testing or will be testing, just know that the ups and the downs, and maybe you'll be fortunate and be hired the first time around. Doesn't work for everyone, but it will just make you better every single time thereafter, and you'll be more prepared to be successful during that process. So with that, as fire chief here for the last several years, I've been a part of the Sacramento Regional Fire Diversity Committee, which is a committee of the Sacramento County Fire Chiefs Association. I actually served as the chairperson last year. And one of the things that we did, we worked really hard with the community and with other leaders, some of them who are on this call, to put together a strategic plan. And that is listed. Currently, it is posted on the myfirecareer.org website, and you're welcome to look at it. I would encourage you to do so. And that gives us some guidance, an opportunity to prepare ourselves for the future, and to realize that it is so important to reflect the community that we serve, and a lot on diversity. And for many, diversity is race, and it's not. It's much more than just race. It is everything. It is gender. It is all of the different backgrounds, the cognitive diversity, the thought process of what makes us all different, what makes us strong. And we apply that. And what we really would do as the leaders here, especially in Sacramento County, is to reflect our community, to be there to connect with the community, so that they can look up that first responder who's there and be able to talk to them, and to have that compassion and that feeling of, I can see you. I feel very comfortable talking to you, and the service that I'm being provided with is a much better service than I thought I would be receiving. So with that, it's so important that we do so. And we were able to work together and ask the community what's important to you, and realize that the community does feel that it is important to them to have firefighters who reflect the community. And additionally, veterans, there was quite an overwhelming response on those who are veterans who might be on this call. That is important for the community, for us to provide that opportunity to the veterans, and also to make sure that we align with the community itself. And so important for us to remember that that we're here for them. We're here for the people who call 911 and provide the service for, and we have to prepare our future for that. So with that, I'm excited about today. I think it's really important that we have those opportunities, that the questions can be asked and answered as best as possible, and that we have people that will fill the seats that we will retire from someday, and have future firefighters that are from this area, if possible, that reflect our community, that are prepared, that could come here and deliver the best service for those who call 911. Because as I always say, you can't call 912. So we need people who are prepared, ready, trained, educated, and have all the necessary tools and the ability and the desire to serve this community. So with that, I will open it up to a few questions, if somebody may have some out in the audience, and if not, then turn it back over to Valley Visions for the next portion of today.
Thank
Ms.
you
Hart,
so.
do we have any questions from anyone that you could see?
We don't have any questions in the chat. Does anybody have any questions for Chief Rodriguez? If you do, you can either put them in the chat or raise your virtual hand. You could raise a regular hand. We don't always see that though. Well, fabulous. Thank you so much for giving us that information, and your focus is really on the diversity committee, is diversifying the pipeline. So I guess if I were to advance a question to you, I would want to know, is there anything particular that you've seen that is more effective than others in the diversification work for firefighting careers?
Starting early, most definitely. It is important for us as the leaders, and I know there's different leaders from the different organizations in our area, but it's just to start early, and that would be at the high school level, and really plant that seed and inspire future firefighters or those who might be interested, and maybe with an Explore program, Girls Camp, of course, some of the mentorship programs that are there. But to really start early and align people into the programs that are out there, the partnerships that will be spoken of today, such as CRC or Sierra or whatever college is in the area that has fire science and EMT training, and some of those things that are important to be successful within the process, because the process itself, and I hope that that's covered today, but is a lengthy process to be ready and to be successful within the hiring process, specifically during the interview portion and in the EMS section, which is normally part of any testing process, to make sure that the people have the necessary skills to start that fire academy. So the successful parts are starting early, and we have a great partnership here with Cosumnes Community, the college itself, the CRC, and I think that's what's important, is to have that partnership with the local college.
I see one question also in the chat. It says, what are the minimum academic requirements for entry level and also for promoted positions?
That's a great question, and I'm not sure if it will be covered today or not. They are all a little bit different, but pretty close within all of the fire departments. So most definitely high school diploma. Fire science is helpful, because what happens is when it comes time for the interview itself, or even just the application selection, is that the ones who have the most on their resume and can speak to that do better. So at bare minimum, high school diploma, that's really not enough anymore. It takes some fire science. EMT would be one of the minimums. Paramedic is mostly the requirement, or most places will require at least a paramedic license. There will be some EMT opportunities, but paramedics will rise to the top. Passing of a written test, and we actually partner with the fire FCTC through CalJack, and we accept their testing criteria for a written and a physical ability test, the CPAT. So I believe most of the departments in the area require the same. There might be some that step outside of that and just provide their own testing, but more and more you'll see the FCTC process as part of the minimum requirements, and then a little bit of experience. So as I mentioned, they would ask me if I've worked on an ambulance or military or anything else. If you can say yes, you will do better. Or
I'm sorry, Cindy's not in this meeting.
I'm sorry. Oh, somebody had a stuck
I think
mic.
someone's not on mute.
Yeah, that's okay. I've heard that over the radio many a time on a fire engine accidentally. So it's all good. Yeah, but so those are some of the minimum requirements.
Excellent. Thank you, Chief Rodriguez. Really appreciate your personal story of perseverance and that dedication to diversifying the talent pipeline.
You're so welcome, Hillary. And I hope the best for all. And mainly was just passing that message that it took me 7 years to get hired, and a lot of hard work, just like many of you who are on this call or watching this. It takes some hard work, but don't give up and don't quit. Follow your dream. Thank you.
Thank you. And now, in the interest of sticking to the agenda, we have Sarah Phillips. Sarah Phillips is the Regional Director of the Center of Excellence in the Far North region, and she's here to share some industry data and trends to frame our conversation. So thank you, Sarah. I'll pass it off to you.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. And a big thanks again to Valley Vision for inviting me to join this advisory and share the findings from this report. I'm really glad to be here with you. Very quickly, here's just a little bit about the COE, who we are and what we do. Next slide, please. Maybe one more slide. Thank you. So the COE is a program of the Economic and Workforce Development Division of the California Community College's Chancellor's Office. Our mission is to provide labor market information and other kinds of technical assistance to all of the colleges in our system, especially to help guide program investment in CTE areas. We are organized into 9 regions that are indicated on the map that you see here. I serve the Far North region, and I'm really grateful and lucky to have a fantastic research manager, Ebony Bensing, who's also on the call, and we'll be hearing from her in a little bit. She's hosted at Los Rios Community College District, as is our statewide director, Laura Coleman. And I'm really glad and grateful that my partner on this project is also on this call today, Lauren McSherry, writer and editor extraordinaire with LM McSherry Consulting. Next slide, please. In this report, we define and describe entry-level firefighting positions and the agencies that employ them. We look at labor market demand and job postings, workforce and student demographics, and we summarize post-secondary awards related to firefighting employment. I'm not going to go over every section in detail today, but I do encourage you to download the report. This study was undertaken in response to anecdotal reports from employers and community college instructors and deans that a firefighting workforce shortage exists in California. And early on, we recognized that this study may be just the first look at what is a very complicated workforce ecosystem. For example, as Chief Rodriguez just mentioned, we understand that EMT paramedic occupations are very closely aligned to firefighting occupations. So are some forest management occupations, actually. But for the purpose of this study, we kept our focus on 4 occupations. Next slide, please. We studied firefighters, first-line supervisors of firefighting and prevention workers, fire inspectors and investigators, and forest fire inspectors and prevention specialists. One pressing question presented to the study team was whether the state's community colleges are training a sufficient number of students to enter firefighting occupations. This question became even more compelling in light of numerous news articles reporting on a national shortage of wildland firefighters. So as a result, we conducted a preliminary comparison of workforce demand. Our proxy for demand is annual job openings. And then we looked at supply, and our proxy for supply are the average number of students receiving community college awards related to fire occupations across the state. Our analysis revealed that when all firefighting related awards, so we're talking about certificates and degrees here, are taken into account, and an oversupply of 40 workers appeared to exist in California. Next slide, please. So here's the approach that we undertook. Using those same 4 occupations I just mentioned, an analysis of employment and projected demand was conducted. We also looked at wage data, so entry-level, median, and experience wages, and workforce demographics, including gender, age, and race and ethnicity. The study also incorporated an analysis of post-secondary supply by identifying community college programs that offer training applicable to these 4 firefighting occupations. To evaluate the potential of community colleges to address these diversity issues. And thank you again for Chief Rodriguez for highlighting these today as well. Within the firefighting workforce, we also look at student demographics, again, gender, age, and race and ethnicity across 3 types of firefighting program. And then we compare those numbers with the statewide population of our career education students. The next part of this study was a qualitative analysis. And here we conducted an pretty extensive literature review. And we also conducted 11 interviews with subject matter experts who have in-depth knowledge of firefighting careers, the required skills and certifications for these occupations, and a discussion about hiring processes. We are really grateful for CAL FIRE's involvement in these interviews, and they did the review of the final report for us. Unfortunately, Region 5 U.S. Forest Service PIOs weren't as willing to grant us in interviews. But some of the questions we asked our interview subjects were, what are some retention challenges that you have, if any? Why do you think these challenges exist? And what are your thoughts on the current course and degree offerings that our community colleges are putting out there related to firefighting? Are there enough programs? And is there really a need for this type of education? Or is the in-house training that's provided by our firefighting agencies sufficient? Okay, so there are 4 types of agencies that typically employ firefighters, but the training requirements really vary among these agencies. Next slide, please. Firefighters are employed by local departments, which include municipal and city and county departments, CAL FIRE, obviously, and then our federal agencies. There's also many private contractors in this ecosystem. So what this slide shows is an example of the number of pre-employment training hours that are typically required by these various agencies. Local and municipal agencies typically have the most stringent requirements, followed by CAL FIRE, and then our federal agencies. And the federal agencies that typically employ firefighters are the Forest Service, the Bureau of Land Management, the Park Service, and the Bureau of Indian Affairs. Across all agencies, what we're finding is that experience tends to be valued over education for ascending the career ladder, but preliminary training is mandatory for any entry-level firefighting occupation across all employer groups. Next slide, please. At the local level, particularly in rural areas, which is most of the far north, firefighters may start out as reservists or volunteers. And then once they obtain Firefighter 1 and EMT or paramedic certification, they can be hired into entry-level positions. Preferred entry-level candidates for city or county firefighter positions have either completed a community college fire academy program, which is typically 18 weeks, or a fire technology associate's degree. However, again, this form of education is not necessarily a requirement for these positions. Larger agencies additionally require that job candidates complete an in-house academy, typically spanning 15 to 22 weeks, to screen for physical fitness and knowledge, skills, and abilities. And then in addition to passing in-house fire academy training, a municipal county firefighter must obtain state certification. Next slide, please. At the state level, 219 hours of pre-employment training is required. As Chief Rodriguez said, a high school diploma is required to be hired, and an associate degree is required usually in order to be promoted into higher level officer positions. CAL FIRE runs its own training centers, offering 7-week courses year round. And 90% of students who attend these academies become seasonal firefighters. What we also learned through our subject matter interviews is that in the past, especially recently past, extreme fire seasons, training may be accelerated in order to graduate students. Once a seasonal firefighter has completed the training and worked for 9 months as a seasonal firefighter 1, they are eligible to become a permanent firefighter 2. Employees assigned to training at CAL FIRE training centers are paid during their stays. Next slide, please. And at the federal level, there are a variety of entry-level positions, mainly seasonal, that apply to firefighting through the federal agencies. These include working on a hand crew or hotshot crew. Entry-level firefighting jobs are typically grouped under the title of forestry aide and forestry technician, which is one of the challenges around the labor market data that we're trying to measure here, which I'll get into in a little bit. And also for the federal agencies especially, the hiring process can be really, really complicated. Training requirements appear to be fairly consistent among independent contractors. These are groups such as Firestorm, Miller Timber, Wildland Defense, Capstone, and Grayback, kind of are the big ones. CAL FIRE and the Forest Service contract with these private entities to provide hand crews and other firefighting resources. And their training requirements are aligned with the minimum training usually required by our federal agencies. So we also conduct an analysis of job postings for these 4 occupations. Online job postings can provide insights into employer demand for specific jobs, and they also indicate needs for certain skill sets, as well as demand for certifications. Next slide, please. Close analysis of these job postings suggests that firefighting job postings may not be reflective of actual hiring needs, because the various agencies that hire these positions don't necessarily use traditional online job postings for recruitment. For example, federal agencies advertise and hire through USA Jobs. In the Western United States, the application deadline for wildland firefighters is usually mid-October, with job application selection completed by mid-February. CAL FIRE does not typically advertise positions except through its website, and applications for seasonal firefighting positions are accepted annually, usually in the month of November. City and county fire departments typically announce open positions as they become available on their websites, and may advertise on national firefighting websites such as firerescue1.com. They usually expect firefighters who want to join their agencies to kind of be tracking when openings get posted and to apply accordingly. And finally, private contractors may post job ads on traditional online hiring websites, which are scraped by these job postings, such as Indeed.com, although they typically announce positions on their websites as well. And these agencies may offer in-house training that must be completed before an individual can be hired into a position. So the chart on this slide shows the top certifications from an analysis of about 2,500 job postings over a 1-year period. And again, aside from a driver's license, certifications most in demand by employers in these job postings are a Firefighter 1 and the EMT. Of all the certifications listed in job postings, Firefighter 1 is most commonly requested, occurring in 539 of the 2,500 postings. And again, this is followed by EMT, which posted numbers at 517. A Wildland 1 certificate shown in the chart refers to a requirement for employment by municipal and county agencies in CAL FIRE. Job applicants for these agencies usually are required to have completed the state fire marshal approved coursework for Firefighter 1 cert, which includes Firefighter 1A, which is structure, Firefighter 1B, which is hazardous materials awareness and operations, and Firefighter 1C, which is wildland. For CAL FIRE, this coursework or a CAL FIRE basic firefighter certificate is accepted. Excuse me while I take a sip of water. Please move on to the next slide. Thank you. Okay, so these are the findings from an analysis of workforce size and employment demand. And again, we discuss each of these findings way more in depth in the report. And Ebony is going to provide a more detailed look at these metrics for the greater Sacramento region. These findings represent the state of California as a whole. When we look at staffing patterns, we see that local agencies comprise 93% of firefighting employment in the state. Other entities that hire firefighters are not reflected in statewide data. Firefighting employment declined slightly during COVID-19, but is projected to rebound over the next 5 years. The largest occupation of the 4 we studied is firefighters. There are more than 32,700 in California. And then the median wage for firefighters is $38.37 per hour. I need to also caveat that there are a few constraints to this analysis. Interviews with subject matter experts indicate that there is a severe shortage of firefighters across California for federal and municipal agencies. However, just as with jobs postings, the severity doesn't appear to be reflected in current employment data. Employment data about current employment and vacancies for several agency groups is not available to inform this analysis. Again, really grateful for CAL FIRE. They were able to supply its workforce data to supplement the statewide labor market data that we have available, and you can find that information in the report. I hope further studies might be able to engage the Forest Service so we can look at some of these numbers federally as well. Another labor market research snag is that current occupational employment data collected in California might not always include seasonal CAL FIRE and federal firefighters. And then finally, further complicating all of this analysis is the fact that most private contractors are based outside of California. And as a result, their employment numbers are not reflected in California LMI data, even though their firefighters may be working here in California. Okay, next slide, please. This table displays numbers of jobs for the 4 occupations in California. The largest occupation is firefighters, again, with more than 32,000 workers, and these numbers are from 2020. This occupation is projected to grow by 2% through 2025, accounting for nearly 3,000 annual openings, primarily for municipal positions here. The projected rate of change over this 5-year period is reflective of new jobs. Other firefighting occupations are relatively small in terms of employment size. For example, jobs for first-line supervisors of firefighting and prevention workers are projected to grow by 4%. Overall, for the combined occupational group, just 3% growth is projected through 2025. We also conducted an in-depth analysis of workforce and student demographics. Next slide, please. Here are the findings from the 2 demographic sections of the report. Again, we go into way more detail in the report, so I'm kind of here to tell you to download the report, please, and then follow up with me with questions. But the typical worker right now employed in firefighter occupations is male, between 35 and 45 years or 44 years old, and is white. The typical community college student enrolled in a firefighting program right now is male, between 20 and 29 years old, and white. But when we look at our statewide CTE student demographics, we see that 51% of our CTE students are female, 51% are under the age of 24, and 25% are white. So this suggests an opportunity for colleges to serve as an important pipeline for recruitment and retention. Okay, thanks for hanging in there with me. Let's look at community college supply analysis now. Next slide, please. Community college supply data shows that fire technologies are conferring nearly 2,500 awards on average each year. Fire academies are conferring nearly 1,000 awards on average each year. And then wildland fire tech programs are conferring 36 awards on average each year. And most of the awards in our community colleges are heavily concentrated among the 16 to 30 semester units certificates and associate degrees categories. Again, we do a much more detailed analysis of this in the report, but I am looking at my clock and I need to wrap things up. Next slide, please. Here are some of the themes that came about from our subject matter expert interviews. And these are some of the issues that were revealed that may be impacting the firefighting workforce. Low pay and high burnout for federal wildland firefighters. We hear anecdotally that folks move from the green pants into the blue pants, right? We also understand that CAL FIRE may be losing firefighters to city and county agencies. Community college students who complete a fire academy program may have to wait a long time for a job. Chief Rodriguez, it was interesting to hear that your journey was a seven-year journey. We also learned that city and municipal requirements for firefighters and paramedics may have been relaxed due to staffing shortages. And then again, as we've mentioned already today, a lack of diversity continues to be an issue. And then a few more of our findings. Next slide, please. Our major key findings are these. Again, there's a need for increased workforce diversity. The study finds that more work on expanding diversity is needed within not only the firefighting workforce, but among our community college fire programs. It might be also interesting to assess community college program delivery models. The study recommends further assessment of whether college training is meeting workforce needs, as well as a deeper evaluation of hiring needs that are specific to entry-level positions at each of the agencies who hire these for these positions. Next slide. And then finally, here are a few other findings. I mentioned some of the challenges around traditional labor market data, which is why we undertook the study in the first place. Again, existing employment data doesn't accurately represent the entirety of the state's firefighting workforce, especially seasonal workers employed by CAL FIRE and our federal agencies. Additionally, while their employment data may be captured, municipal and county employers report experience in their own workforce challenges. In addition, migration of firefighters from lower paid to higher paid positions and agencies at this point might be exacerbating workforce needs. To inform short-term planning, we may recommend a statewide employer survey to gauge workforce size and training needs. In particular, to better clarify our municipal, county, and federal workforce needs. This might provide an opportunity to capture federal firefighting employment in all its forms. And in turn, I think these findings or these studies might help our colleges adapt their programs to better meet these needs. And finally, there's maybe a need to employ coordination and communication in order to move forward. And again, we hear anecdotally from our partners, but discussions maybe around or within state fire service leadership and counterparts from the community college system could address some of the most effective means of delivering training to meet the different levels required at each of the levels that agencies are employing. This discussion could also explore how to implement best practices to improve the representation of women and students of color in firefighting programs. Next slide, please. Whew. All right, that's it for me. Thank you. I know I went quickly through that. Again, I encourage you to please download the report. Here's my contact information if you have questions after that. But I think now Ebony is going to go through a more detailed analysis and findings of similar labor market information for the greater Sacramento region.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Just so you guys know, we did drop the report, the full report in the chat. And Ebony, I'll let you go ahead. Thank you.
All right, good morning. So my name is Ebony Benzing, and I am a researcher with the North Far North Center of Excellence. I work both with Sarah Phillips in the Far North and Erin Wilshire in the greater Sacramento area to provide labor market data and related analyses to support the development of career education programs in the community colleges. Next slide, please. So today what I am doing is I'm sharing an analysis of firefighting and prevention jobs in the greater Sacramento region. We're focused specifically on the demand for these types of jobs. One of the things I kind of want to go back to from Sarah's presentation is that she said it really well when she highlighted some of the limitations of this data, and that we do oftentimes kind of miss certain segments of the fire workforce in the data set. So please keep that in mind as I'm showing you this data, and if kind of questions arise about what about specific entities, organizations, or positions, there's some limitations with some of that. Next slide, please. So first up, we have this table. It shows the current and projected job counts, estimated annual job openings, and entry-level hourly wages for the 4 firefighting occupations in the greater Sacramento region. So overall, greater Sacramento held about or just over 2,600 firefighting and prevention jobs in 2021. These jobs are projected to increase by 7% over the next 5 years, adding nearly 200 additional new jobs to the subregion by 2026. One of the things that I kind of want to call out is the projected job growth rate of 7%. If you remember from Sarah's presentation, the statewide job growth was around 3% for the 4 firefighting occupations. So this one is more than double that. So we're expecting significant growth here. So there will be more than 230 job openings each year for the next 5 years across these 4 occupations in Sacramento alone. Greater Sacramento's fire jobs are heavily concentrated in the firefighting occupation. That's the very first row of data in this table. Jobs for firefighters make up nearly 80% of Greater Sacramento's fire jobs. Most of the region's job openings will be for firefighters with 187 annual openings. So job openings each year between 2021 and 2026. Next slide, please. So, oh, this is animated. Can you click a couple more times? Let's see if everything shows up on there. Oh, go back. Okay, never mind. All right, so now we're gonna take a look at some job posting data for the 4 occupations. Analyzing job postings can give us a sense of how actively local employers are searching for new job candidates, and thus informs real-time demand for an occupation. So what this chart here shows is that between March 2020, I feel like my slides are a little bit out of order. Can you go to the next slide? Sorry, a little technical thing. Okay, this is the one I want to focus on first. So what this shows here is between March 2020 and February 2023, there were 618 unique online job postings for firefighting and prevention jobs in the Greater Sacramento region. Unique means that the job postings have been deduplicated, so there's no duplicates in that count. The posting intensity for these jobs is at 5-to-1, which is slightly higher than the regional average of 4-to-1, suggesting that local employers are putting more effort into finding job candidates. And the typical length of time firefighting postings stay up is about 27 days versus the regional median of 29 days. I kind of want you to keep that 27 days in mind, because that's one of the comparison points that I'm going to make in the rest of the data. Can you go back to the previous slide now? So this chart is just tracking how job postings for the 4 firefighting occupations have changed since March 2020. So that very first point on the left-hand side is March 2020, and then we end in February of 2023. So overall, what I want to say about this slide is that firefighting job postings declined during the first 12 months of the pandemic, which is very true of what we've seen for a lot of occupations in the Greater Sacramento region, California, and the rest of the country. And then those job postings tended to remain depressed through 2021. Beginning in the winter of 2021, which is about midway on this chart, we start to see an increase in job postings, rising to a peak of nearly 150% in April of 2022. So that's that very high point at the top. So overall, in the last 3 years, we have an increase in job postings, signaling more effort in trying to find job candidates for these roles. All right, forward 2 slides, please. Perfect, thank you. All right, so these tables show the top locations and employers with the most job postings over the last 3 years. Cities and employers listed in the orange text here have a longer than typical job posting duration online. So if you remember, that typical job posting duration was 27 days for all firefighter occupations. But if we start to kind of look at some of the more granular data, we start to see differences here. So cities or places with more than 10 days over the typical job posting duration included South Lake Tahoe, Mather, which is kind of out by Rancho Cordova, Grass Valley, and Truckee. Though these places are considered part of the Greater Sacramento metropolitan region, most are rural or kind of in that like urban rural interface compared to the urban downtown slash midtown core. Now, direct your attention over to the right-hand side of the slide, please. This shows the employers with the most job postings over the last 3 years for those 4 firefighting occupations. I took and organized this data based off of kind of whether or not they were like public, private, or kind of recruiter type of organization. So public sector firefighting's employers with included the University of California system, so that's UC Davis. I also noticed that the University of California Ag and Natural Resources Division popped up in those job postings as well. The state of California, Sac Metro, Wilton, and Roseville. Now, private sector employers included Wildfire Defense Systems, Rural Metro Corporation, and Shalata, which is a Native American firm that hires wildland firefighters and deploys them across the United States. Shalata is headquartered in Oklahoma. And lastly, there were a number of job postings from Daily Dispatch. This is something I see kind of pop up regularly in this type of data. Daily Dispatch is a news organization that's devoted to fire service, and they often post job postings from firefighter organizations across the country. Next slide, please. So this chart compares the number of job postings for each occupation to the median job posting duration. So apologize, the median line is not showing up on this. But what I want you to take away from this is that most of the job postings that I found online were concentrated in those first 2 occupations, firefighters, and then first line supervisors of firefighting and prevention workers. Next slide, please. So this chart, or these charts, are my attempt at categorizing the different types of job titles and occupations and roles in a very succinct way. So the first table, the blue one, describes the firefighting job positions that were available in the greater Sacramento region over the last 3 years. You'll notice that there's different roles for like wildland fighting, firefighters, EMS, firefighters, fire officers. And you'll also notice that there's the number of job postings for each of those roles as well. I included some of the summary job titles so that you can see what was included in that category. What I want to highlight here is that job postings for different firefighter roles had longer job posting durations, ranging from 28 days to about 39 days, depending on the role and title. EMS firefighter, that category or role, had the longest posting duration of all of these particular roles, from 37 to 39 days. On a separate note, towards kind of the bottom of that table, you'll see a significantly longer posting duration for equipment operation roles. The 45 days is tied to the engine boss's job title, which was a position specific to the private company Wildfire Defense Systems. Now, on the right-hand side, among the fire prevention job postings, most postings fell into the inspection and prevention job role categories, with about 60 postings, followed by 53 for fire marshals. An interesting find among this particular set of job postings were the ones for land management roles. I think Sarah highlighted this in her presentation, is that we do start to see kind of some land management roles popping up and firefighting, related to firefighting jobs. The Wilderness Rangers had the longest posting duration at 44 days, suggesting another potential area of need in our region. Next slide, please. So to wrap up my presentation, I'm not going to spend too much time here. I thought I would just highlight the types of programs offered by our community colleges. Some of the colleges will speak directly to their programs later on, so this is just a really quick blip of this information. Local community colleges offer fire training in 3 key areas: fire technology, fire academies, and wildland fire. Fire technology and fire academy, someone please speak up if I get this completely wrong, are relatively similar to each other, except that the fire academies are designed to meet specific local and state fire training requirements for employment. So several colleges also offer training in areas related to fire, including the Forester program at Lake Tahoe, EMT training at Folsom Lake, Consumnes River, and Sierra, and paramedic training at American River and Sierra. Next slide, please. All right, so this concludes my presentation. There's my contact information. I also want to encourage you to check out the COE website because we do have some reporting related to these occupations. In fact, I'll probably just kind of add some links to the chat as this presentation goes on. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ebony and Sarah. You can see we already put the stretch break up there. But since we are just a little bit over, if anybody has a quick question for Sarah or Ebony, we could take that. You could also put a question in the chat and perhaps Sarah and Ebony can answer there. But I'm just going to pause for just a minute to see if there's any questions before our stretch break.
That's how we like it.
Okay. Well, fabulous. Thank you so much. Again, as Ebony indicated, we're going to have not only panelists, but also program descriptions at the end of this advisory, so you can hear about what's happening at the community colleges as well. We're going to take a 5-minute break, so we'll be back at 10:03. And yes, we'll go from there. Thank you so much, everyone.
Welcome back, everyone. If you have the capacity, we would ask you to turn your camera on if that's a possibility for you. We like to see your faces. There's more to communication than just audio. And I'm very excited to be able to facilitate the panel discussion today of our industry representatives. I'm going to do a quick introduction for each one of them, and then we will get started with some panel questions. After we ask a grouping of questions that we've prepared, the floor will be open for any questions from any of you in attendance. So feel free to prepare your questions. You can drop them in the chat at any time. We'll also provide an opening at the end for you to ask what might be on your mind. So I will start out by introducing, I'm not sure if we have a slide with the panelists, so which order I should go in here. Okay, Christopher McCandless is a district field specialist for the Yuba River Ranger District on the Tahoe National Forest. He started his fire career in 2000 while attending college at the University of Nevada, Reno, with his first position on an engine based in the Lassen National Forest. From there, he accepted an apprentice job on the Tahoe National Forest in 2002. During his time in the apprenticeship, he worked on the Tahoe Helitack and Tahoe Hot Shots. Once he completed the apprenticeship program, he converted to a full-time position on an engine and worked his way up to engineer, and then went back to the Tahoe Hot Shots. He spent the last 8 years and the majority of his career in an interagency hotshot crew captain. Recently, he took a new avenue as a district fuel specialist doing wildfire risk reduction on what has been identified as one of the 21 landscapes in the nation where communities, critical infrastructure, and our natural resources are most in need of protection from the growing threat of wildfires. Thank you so much, Chris, for joining us. We also have Ariana Duran. She is an associate governmental program analyst at CAL FIRE with almost 2 years of experience representing and promoting this wonderful department, in her words, in every opportunity she can. Since November 2022, Ariana has been a part of the Workforce Planning Recruitment Unit, which strives to provide leadership by defining the current and future workforce needs of CAL FIRE, while recruiting and retaining talented individuals dedicated to fulfilling CAL FIRE's mission. Ariana truly loves what she does. She specialized in public relations, communication, and emergency services during her undergrad degree and is currently in the process of obtaining a master's degree in communication. Thank you for joining us, Ariana. We also have Julie Ryder from the Consumnes Fire Department. Captain Ryder began her fire service career as an intern through the Consumnes River College Fire Tech program until she realized her dream and became a full-time firefighter in 1999. She's an active member of the Consumnes Fire Department Peer Support Team, a committee member for Sacramento Fire Agency's Regional Diversity and Recruitment, and a member of California Professional Firefighters Women's Commission. Captain Ryder recently championed bringing a girls' fire camp to Consumnes River Fire Department, which is designed to empower and inspire young women through hands-on experiences taught by professional female firefighters. Captain Ryder has spent her entire career with a focused purpose on outreach and recruitment and has helped many future firefighters navigate their path into the fire service. Thank you for your service. And we have Tim White, who is a firefighter paramedic with the Sacramento Metropolitan Fire District. He has over 18 years of experience working in the fire service and also serves as the recruitment coordinator. Tim has been called upon to speak on various recruitment, outreach, and mentor programs and how they influence and assist the next generation of firefighters through the firefighter hiring process. Thank you, Tim. And we also have Lawrence Wang with the Sacramento Fire Department. Captain Wang is a captain paramedic with Sacramento Fire Department. He's been with the department since 2005, starting as a firefighter paramedic. He was promoted to the rank of captain in 2019. He enjoys his work out in the field and believes that the Sacramento Fire Department is never short of excitement and calls. And I'm guessing excitement on calls. They probably also go together. So thank you all for joining us. I will start out by asking some questions to you. And then again, if folks that are in attendance have questions, feel free to put those in the chat at any time. So just starting out, we'd like to hear a brief overview of your agency or organization, your role, and the number and types of firefighting positions you hire for. And we'll start with you, Chris. And I apologize if I miss a title or mess up titles. I'm not great at titles. Are we okay with first names? Would that be allowed? Okay, thank you. We'll start with Chris.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so again, Chris McCandless with the U.S. Forest Service. The U.S. Forest Service is a land management agency primarily, but it's also a wildland fire agency. We've got wildland fire engines, type 3 engines is what we refer to them as type 6 engines. We also have hand crews. We've got wildland fire modules, interagency hotshot crews, attack crews, fire prevention and patrols, smoke jumpers, and repellers. That's various modules that we have within the agency. My years of profession were split kind of between engines and shots. That's what I can speak to most, but currently just is a specialist. Here on the top, we hire really about 100 folks to come on for the brunt of fire season. There's additional 150 folks, different modules I just talked about throughout the year, whether they're permanent or permanent seasonal. And in the Forest Service, we kind of have it broken down into three. You're either a career permanent employee, which is a 26 and that's 26 pay periods, or you're a PSE, permanent seasonal employee, and that's 18 and 8. So you're on for 18 pay periods, off for 8. And then you have what's called a seasonal. That's a 13 and 13. 13 pay periods on, 13 pay periods off. So here on the force is roughly about 250 folks employed amongst the 11 engines that we have, the 3 hotshot crews, 2 helicopters, and various other positions. And that's just the Tahoe National Forest. In California, there's 18 national forests that all have similar staffing patterns to what we have in California due to the fire severity and the fire seasons that we see here. But again, the U.S. Forest Service spans across the nation. There's 154 national forests throughout the country. And those forests have different module buildups based off of their fire activity.
Perfect.
Pretty much what
Thank
I
you so
got.
much. Okay, great. You did cut out a little bit there for me, but then it came back full force. I think we didn't miss too much there. So just to let you know. And Tim, if I can provide the same question to you, an overview of your agency, your role, and the types of firefighting positions you hire for.
Yeah, Tim White. I'm a firefighter at Metro Fire, currently assigned to recruitment and workforce development. This is my job at the moment. Metro Fire is an independent special district that services the emergency and prevention needs of approximately 750,000 residents, the county of Sacramento, and a little bit of Placer. We cover 358 square miles with 41 stations. We provide door-to-door ALS EMS services with both our first responders and ambulance companies. We have multiple special operations programs that allow us to respond to all risks and mitigate all hazards within our communities. And that takes a whole team. In addition to our more than 550 emergency workers, we employ mechanics, IT professionals, logistics and facilities personnel, and the list goes on and on to roughly employ 700 people. That's Metro Fire.
Thank you. Thanks for highlighting the breadth of careers. And Ariana, we want to hear next about CAL FIRE and your role there and what positions you're hiring for.
Absolutely. So the team at the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection, CAL FIRE, we're dedicated to the fire prevention, fire protection, and stewardship of over 31 million acres of California's privately owned wildlands. In addition to the department provides fire emergency services in 36 of the state's 58 counties via contracts with local governments. Preventing wildfires in state responsibility area is a vital part of the CAL FIRE's mission. While these efforts have occurred since the early days of the department, CAL FIRE has adopted the evolving destructive wildfires and succeeded in significantly increasing its efforts in fire prevention. We work to prevent wildfire through wildland pre-fire engineering, vegetation management, fire planning, reforestation, education, and law enforcement. My role currently, I'm the Associate Governmental Program Analyst, and I have the opportunity of representing and promoting this wonderful department in every way that I could be a part of. Since November 2022, I've had the pleasure of being a part of the Workforce Planning and Recruitment Unit, which strives to provide leadership by defining the current and future workforce needs of CAL FIRE, while recruiting and retaining talented individuals dedicated to fulfilling CAL FIRE's mission. Currently, our numbers as of Monday, April 3rd, 2023, CAL FIRE has 8,143 employees. And lastly, the types of positions that we hire for. CAL FIRE has a plethora of positions, but just to name a few, we have admin positions such as myself, Associate Governmental Program Analyst. We have Staff Service Analyst, Office Technician, Arson and Bomb Investigator, Aviation Careers, Communication Operators, Fire 1, Fire 2, Foresters, Heavy Fire Equipment Operator, Information Technologists, Paramedics, Pipeline Safety, Deputy State Marshal. We have cooks, we have Water and Sewage Plant Operator, Transportation Survey, and so many more. And that's it for CAL FIRE.
You got me on arson bomb or something. There were a moment there, my mind went into like an episode of something on TV there, which is real life for all of you. Julie, can you tell us a little bit about Cosumnes Fire Department, your role and the types of positions you hire for?
Yes, I can. Good morning. My name is Julie Ryder. I'm a captain in our administration and support services. And our agency is very unique because we are a community service district, which means we serve the communities of Elk Grove and Galt, and we all offer parks, recreation, and fire. So specifically, I'm going to speak to the fire department. But our agency is governed by a board of 5 members that are serving the community. We're an all-risk agency, and that means that we have like that wide spectrum of calls from medical aids all the way down to, getting cats out of a tree, trench rescues, you name it. We hire positions for entry-level EMT and paramedic, and the jobs that we have within our agency, we have a pretty robust administration, and we hire mechanics for our fleet maintenance division, logistic technicians, and firefighters, fire inspectors, and arson investigators.
Thank you very much. And Lawrence, if you could tell us about Sacramento Fire Department.
Yeah, hi, good morning, everybody. Lawrence Wang, Sacramento Fire Department. I'm a captain currently assigned to our diversity outreach and recruitment. I work in the admin side of things just for the time being. For the most part, City of Sacramento or Sacramento Fire, we cover the City of Sacramento, North Sac, South Sac, downtown East Sac, and also we have incorporated Natomas. And just like my Metro and Cosumnes counterparts, we are an all-risk organization, which means we have ALS ambulances. We actually have a rescue house. We have 2 hazmat houses. We have several boat houses. At least for the suppression side, which is the fire side of it, we have around 600 uniformed members. And the positions that we typically hire for on the suppression side is fire recruit, which is at a minimum EMT or paramedic. But we also do hire for prevention, which we have one of our prevention officers here, and we also hire for a lot of admin positions as well.
Thank you so much for that. The second questions that we have for you all for the panel are what positions does your organization or agency have the most difficulty filling? And what specific skills or certifications are needed for those positions? And I like to change the order just to mess everyone up or add some challenge. So Lawrence, can I start with you this time on that question?
Yeah, for sure. Just kind of going back, I kind of speak for the suppression side of it. The thing that I like to say is it's simple, not easy. For the most part, the thing that we're most in demand for is for paramedic. And paramedic actually involves a process of you having to have your EMT first, hopefully getting a little bit of work experience, and then actually applying to paramedic school. And so I think, you know, and I think it's across the board that when we have job applications that are open, we typically see EMTs in very, very high numbers and paramedics in very low numbers. And if we're trying to maintain that service that we're providing to the community, we definitely need more paramedics as more paramedics retire and phase out or promote. So definitely I can say is paramedics we are definitely short of, and these are the ones that we're looking for the most.
Thank you very much. And Tim, can you tell us if you're seeing something similar or different in your regard there? What positions are the most difficult, you have the most difficulty filling, and the specific skills or certifications needed?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the gaps in some of the conversation, obviously, when we're talking to the educators and our needs specifically, and you'll hear this, and I'll repeat what Captain Wang had mentioned. So for us, EMT and paramedic is a qualification, not necessarily a job, a qualification that is often a minimum qualification for our suppression hires, for our firefighters. That's a regional need based on the way that we do business in the Sacramento region, that we have a workforce of emergency responders that go out and meet every need that the community calls 911 for, with the assistance of our law enforcement brothers and sisters, obviously. So that being said, paramedics as a qualification are the most in demand, and that's the most specific skill set that I could articulate. We do also have challenges in hiring for arson investigators and fire inspectors. Arson investigation takes kind of a specialized dual role knowledge, if you will, of both fire and law enforcement backgrounds. So we just see less candidates coming in for that need. And then fire inspector seems to be a position that people don't necessarily look to. They just kind of happen into because they're chasing something else in the fire service and and it's just not necessarily on people's radar as a job. So their qualifications, they get filled in later on, if that makes sense. People just don't necessarily know how to become one or haven't heard of that as a job from our perspective. As far as other less specific skills may go, soft skills go a long way in our line of work. We're people that work with other people, but above all, a true and natural desire to be of service and help people goes a really long way in our line of work. That's all I have on that one.
Yeah, thank you very much. Julie, I saw you nodding your head a lot. So what can you tell us from your perspective? What positions are the most difficult to fill and specific skills and qualifications?
The wonderful thing is I work with Tim White and Lawrence Wang quite a bit because we're all on the regional diversity committee, and we're all looking for the same things. We all struggle with the paramedic side, that qualification, because it is a process. It takes time and effort, desire, and basically perseverance to keep going. Like you get your EMT, and some people may say like, okay, that's as far as I want to go, because maybe the paramedic is too difficult, it's too costly. So then we may lose them at that point to which somebody that could be a fantastic candidate just because of that. There's so many barriers to, why we're not getting the numbers that we need. But I think that might be a later question.
Perfect, thank you. And Ariana, how about from CAL FIRE's perspective, what positions are the most difficult to fill and what specific skills or qualifications?
For sure, yeah. The most difficult ones that we're finding that's hard to fill is definitely, I feel like echoing everybody else, our firefighter paramedics, as well as our cook specialists, our communication operator, our water and sewage plant operator, and then our foresters are a few others. And then for these specific skills, the applicant must be 18 years old by the time of the appointment. meaning that they have to be 18 by the time the individuals offer the job. Then also having the list of certificates which are itemized out on our brochures on our online, completed prior to applying or recommended so that they can be placed higher on the list. But yes, I definitely echo with the firefighter paramedics are the ones that are hard to fill as well.
Thank you so much. Chris, for U.S. Forest Service, what are the positions that are the most difficult to fill, and what skills or qualifications are you looking for?
Yeah, so should clarify here, I'm with a bunch of risk and respect everything that you guys do. For those to clarify, we are a wildland environment. For those that don't know, we do have engines, and due to their remote locations, they'll respond on vehicle accident, river rescue, but primarily wildland is our focus. So if there's structure fire, vehicle fire, we're protecting the vegetation, suppressing the vehicle or structure, but no interior attack. Just to clarify for they're interested, people that make the Forest Service a career, typically the people that want to spend a lot in the hotshot communities, the smoke jumper community. You have folks definitely on engines stick around to make a career of it. But I will say that I've had numerous folks come through the hotshot program and work for Reno Fire, work for Folsom, work for San Francisco, Oakland. So it was a good avenue in entry level. You're going and getting your EMT. We like to see that, but it's not a prerequisite. Very few stick around if they get paramedic, obviously, because there's a high need for those with the other agencies. But the entry level positions is really what we're looking for. We have openings in the agency from firefighters all the way up to fire management officers, but that entry level position is what we're looking for. And there's a link that Gustavo is going to share, and it's got kind of all the information that you can go on there and you can see the different modules. And by modules, I mean different resources we have, whether it's engines or hotshot crews or helicopters. You can get a little more information about those. And then you can also see what the in-demand positions are. And there's tips and tricks on that website to help you through the process. We'll talk about entry level is where we're struggling the most to fill those positions, and really that's just a 4-week class. You can get, there's a link on that website of what those classes look like, and then there's in-field portions once you're brought on to get the folks on the training that need to get red carded.
Perfect. And I will say, Chris, you're strong for a while and then you cut out a little bit. So we may in future questions have you block your camera to see if that increases the capacity for us to hear your audio. I think we got most of that. It sounded like firefighter, paramedic, the hot shots, and Gustavo is going to drop something in the chat to help represent your organization. If there's more detail that you want to provide for the positions that you have difficulty filling in the chat, feel free to do that. And then for future questions, we'll have you just on audio and see if that works better. Hopefully all that came through to you. All right, I'm going to move on to the next question and have Gustavo work with you. Okay, perfect. Thank you. So I'll start with Julie on this next question because you mentioned this a little bit already. I'm kind of combining two questions together. For consumed fire, have you noticed any roadblocks to applicants or diverse applicants accessing your organization? And or are there specific places in your hiring, training, and onboarding process where you're losing applicants?
Wow. Okay. Yes. I think the diversity piece is it in my few years of assisting with this, some of the challenges are the cultural barriers, again, cost associated with the different qualifications, and that everything's a process. Like, for instance, I attended a job fair, and there's so many people that can walk on at a law enforcement agency for public safety, but then they come to fire and there's a process. It's not like they can just join the fire department and they automatically get a job. at 18, like we prefer them to be 21, they need to be an EMT, we prefer that to have experience. So with all of that, there's processes in reaching those applicant pools. And I think reaching out through the region, through different partnerships and the community partners, I think that's one way we're trying to expand our reach. And then I guess, what was the follow-up you asked?
Yes, and I can separate them out if that's better for you. I thought they might be related. Where do folks fall out in the hiring, training, and onboarding process?
Oh, yes. For us, a lot of times, like it's the physical demand of the job as well, because they need to go through the statewide eligibility. We access CalJack is one of our partners, and we hire through the FCTC, which they do the written portion and the physical ability test. Well, because that's a state, certified test, it's physically demanding. So maybe we lose that applicant by not being able to pass and actually apply for the position. Like they could be a strong candidate, but maybe we don't give them enough time. Maybe if we're only opening our application pool for 40 days, and they're like, maybe they work in the privates and maybe they need to do a little bit more physical work, that they have the desire, right? But because we're only giving them such short notice to get that physical aspect, that we lose them there, or we may lose them like the same thing when they get to the academy, it's physically demanding. So it's kind of like that double-edged sword.
Thank you. Very helpful. Lawrence, from your perspective, what roadblocks to attracting diverse applicants have you seen with Sacramento Fire, and are there specific places in the hiring, training, and onboarding where folks fall out of the process?
I would say the first roadblock that I see, especially for diverse applicants, is just not having the knowledge of what it takes to be a firefighter. And Captain Ryder is absolutely correct. It is easier to be a police officer than it is to be a firefighter. Because at a minimum, at least for us, Metro Casumas, at a minimum, you need to have your EMT, and that requires education at the junior college level. So a lot of people don't know what the what the actual requirements are. I know a lot of people come up to me and say, "Hey, I have my firefighter 1. I'm ready to work," but they don't have their EMT. And so I think there's a little bit of a gap there. And then also, if you want to get hired quicker, we definitely, I kind of go back to having that paramedic, and paramedic school it takes a lot of time. It's 8 months to a year, and it's actually quite a bit of money too. But I do see that the trend, people see this trend. And so I know CalJack is offering a paramedic academy, which I think is a paramedic internship. And us here in the city of Sacramento, we just opened up our EMS trainee position, which will get you your EMT and paramedic that we filled in like less than 8 hours. So, I think different cities are trying different things to try to get people in, to try to break down the financial barrier, and also the diversity barrier as well. And then where we are losing applicants, at least from what I see, and this is my opinion, I don't actually have the demographics on where we lose people. I just know that here in the Sacramento Valley, we can't compare to Bay Area wages. And I know when we do lose a lot of people, it's to Bay Area departments where they will make more money. That's usually what I see.
Thank you very much. Tim, can you tell us from your perspective, what are the roadblocks to diverse applicants accessing your organization, and then where do folks fall out in the training and onboarding process?
Yeah, it's going to turn into a little bit of an echo chamber here, but
Okay.
my perspective is this: what we all have in common as firefighters that find success in this industry is we had a lucky moment. We had a moment in time where we had access to information, the information that we need to demonstrate what success looked like. We also had the opportunity to go and pursue those qualifications and be successful with them. Absolutely, there's a skill set that comes with success, just like any line of work. So qualifications, I would say, is the biggest roadblock for sure. Staffing an all risk, all hazard, all emergency mitigation workforce that maintains the trust that we enjoy from the public is inherently challenging, but that's what the community deserves. Every individual crisis deserves the attention of a highly trained team of professionals. Paramedic school is academically challenging. A fire academy is physically challenging. The job that we do in and of itself can be challenging if you're not a good fit for the job. For instance, our shift work and the duration of time spent away from home can be challenging to many families or those wishing to raise a family. Another challenge lies in the nature of what we do for the public. Responding to and intervening during times of human tragedy comes at a cost to those that respond and intervene. That's not for everyone. Some people find that out after they've invested in their training to be successful. What our people do every day is of utmost value to those that need our service, but that, just like everything of value, sometimes comes at a cost. Where we lose candidates, at every part of the process or of our onboarding process, we lose folks due to very clear professional standards. I would say the biggest challenge these days is just the job market, how we're competing. Like we're all competing for the same resource. Like we said, those of us that work in the same all hazard municipal fire department or district environment, we need those qualifications so that we have a workforce that can go and meet the needs of the end users of 911. When everybody's looking for them and there just isn't enough of them, everybody's taking multiple tests. So because the time frame of the testing process and the hiring process, as we go through back process and all the things that you are on, as folks are taking multiple tests, you'll see the numbers dwindle as time goes on. I hope that answers your question on that. Yeah, we're just seeing people, timing matters. Timing matters as people are taking a test. If most of our agencies find success at the beginning of someone's career, if someone is ready for a career and we're not ready to hire them, they'll go elsewhere, if that makes sense. And that's all I have on that. I hope that answered the question.
Yeah, it certainly did. Thank you. Ariana, for CAL FIRE, what do you see roadblocks for attracting diverse candidates? And then are there places in the process of onboarding to your organization or application where they fall out?
For sure. CAL FIRE is committed to ensuring equal employment opportunity for all employees, applicants for employment, and volunteers. It is the practice of CAL FIRE to provide equal employment opportunity to all staff and applicants for employment on the basis of merit and fitness to prohibit discrimination and its personnel practices and policies dealing with selection, development, advancement, and treatment of employees. CAL FIRE employees are expected to conduct themselves in a professional manner that demonstrates respect for all employees and others that they come in contact with during work hours and during work-related activities. CAL FIRE is committed to being in compliance with state and federal anti-discrimination laws and takes immediate action, corrective action on equal employment opportunity issues pertaining to any potential form of harassment or discrimination on the basis of protected characteristic and/or retaliatory behavior. The goal of CAL FIRE's Equal Employment Opportunity Program is to prevent unlawful discrimination, harassment, or retaliation, and to resolve issues through education and awareness. The only area of opportunity of growth within the state agency, I feel like, is learning the process and applying. I believe that learning how to apply on Cal Careers website for any state position is probably the biggest learning curve for anyone that I believe. But once you master that, I feel like you're golden. Also, we're also always advertising that various state agencies work in the California Natural Resources Agency building downtown in Sacramento and work with specific hours on Tuesdays and Thursdays to help anybody with learning how to create a state application and applying for jobs. And then to answer your question about where we're losing applicants, I feel like it's a really great question, but from my knowledge, we're not losing applicants during the organizational's hiring and training or onboarding process. We're constantly in the process of streamlining and standardizing our new employee onboarding process to quickly help our new employees get acclimated to the CAL FIRE's culture and providing amazing training and references within the first 60 to 90 days of hire. We have online training databases such as Vector Solutions, which is a great free online database, which allows, with your supervisor's approval, allows employees to self-assign courses such as any courses within HR, Microsoft Office application courses, analyst series courses, diversity, equity, and inclusion classes. We also have our training centers, which are year-round trainings in fire protection and prevention. We have our 2 training centers. One is CFCT, which is our CAL FIRE Training Center over in Amador County. And then we also have our other training center, which is in Ben Clark Public Safety Training Center in Riverside. At these 2 essential instructional facilities, CAL FIRE provides year-round training in fire prevention and protection, emergency response, and law enforcement and enhancement of natural resource systems. CAL FIRE personnel participate in the diversity and academic curricula involving fire control and arson investigation, leadership development, force practice, enforcement, aviation, and specialized courses. In addition, personnel from allied fire protection and law enforcement agencies throughout California and the nation attended courses during the academic year. And that's it for CAL FIRE.
Okay, so I think what I heard from you is that the state application process can be challenging for folks that are trying to navigate for positions in CAL FIRE, and additionally that you're an equal opportunity employer, so you seek to have all applicants have equal access. I know Valley Vision's working on a project with Los Rios Community College District for careers in the public sector, and it's equitable access, but still the cumbersome process can make it difficult for segments of the population that have less exposure to these kinds of things. So appreciate your answer.
Absolutely.
Okay, Christopher, we're going to see if we can hear you. What are the roadblocks for diverse applicants accessing the U.S. Forest Service, and where do folks fall out in the process of hiring, training, or onboarding?
Yeah, do you have a good connection now, Renee, or am I good?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Nice. Sorry, switched over to the phone here. So yeah, echoing a lot of what has been said, it's the hiring process. Typically, it's a 6-month process in the U.S. Forest Service. We start doing our outreach, and the announcements come out in October. We start filling positions in January, and then it goes to the background check. And typically, you'll start in May. So that's 6 months. So it's a patience game. With that, I think that a lot of folks, when you go in, it's tricky. It's a federal agency, right? And so the hiring process can be cumbersome. And so if you go to that link that Gustavo put up there, there's tips and tricks on how to get your app in and what a federal app should look like. And then there's a contact us tab at the bottom that you can reach out to somebody, a live person that will get back to you and help you with your questions. They're not going to help you write the resume, but they'll let you know tips and tricks on getting in. I think besides the hiring process kind of being long and cumbersome, it's really that we have a lot of rural areas. And I think that some of the, I was raised in the woods, I've worked in the woods my whole life. And there's locations that I personally wouldn't want to work at. Just because it's a one gas station, one store kind of town. And that can be very different for a lot of us that didn't grow up in that kind of situation. So those communities kind of rely heavily on their local population, but with the small communities, economies kind of struggling these days, a lot of those people are looking elsewhere and moving on to other opportunities. So that's where we're struggling and finding not only diverse applicants, but applicants period to want to staff those places. My biggest suggestion would be reach out to, if you have a forest that you want to work on, say the Tahoe National Forest sounds like a place you'd want to work, reaching out to those districts and asking who their fire management officers are and talking to them more in depth about the hiring process, who does the hiring there locally, and going and meeting with those individuals. We get a ton of applicants. Whether they're seriously interested or not, and whether they have their apps in multiple agencies or not, you get a list of names, and it just helps a lot to have people that reached out showing sincere interest in the positions and moving forward. You have a lot better chance of actually getting hired once they can put a face to the name. But I think that ultimately is what we're struggling with in our agency. It's so big and so broad. And I'm speaking for the U.S. Forest Service, not necessarily the Tahoe National Forest. It's very rural, and there's a lot of outstations that, like I said, I particularly want to be interested in working at. And then you have locations like Truckee that say a lot of people would want to live and work at. The disparity in pay, not being able to cover living there, is an issue as well that we're having, not being able to fill positions in highly desirable areas because the cost of living isn't equal by the pay.
Thank you. Very helpful and very specific and descriptive. I'm going to go ahead and ask you the next question, Chris, because it sounds like you kind of started to allude to it. How do you currently advertise or outreach to fill your positions? Do you partner with the community colleges, or what kind of partnerships work for you?
So, the Forest Service is definitely trying to do a better job in that. We could always do better, but we have people that are designated now that their job is solely hiring. And so these folks they're the ones that set up these websites. They're the ones that when you reach out to contact us, they're going to be the ones responding to you, and they're kind of seeing it from a different perspective. As a captain on a hotshot crew, I saw what it looked like hiring people, but I'm sitting on one side of kind of the curtain. Well, the HR in Albuquerque that does all of the hiring for the Forest Service is sitting behind another one. And so unfortunately, we can't communicate as easy as you think it would. So I think that we reach out. I know we reach out to community colleges now. We're sending out job announcements, connecting with the community colleges and even ROPs, not getting a whole lot of traction with the ROPs, obviously still high school, but we're definitely reaching out more, and we're having in-person hiring events. We had one in Fresno, and then we had one up in Redding. And it's basically a direct hiring authority where if you're interested, you can go down there. And if through that kind of quasi interview session, you can get hired on there, and they're processing the paperwork. So the Forest Service is trying to change and become more present with all of that, but it's been a work in progress.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think a lot of different industries and organizations have had to become very creative with their outreach and hiring processes. So appreciate hearing what is going on with the U.S. Forest Service. Tim, can you tell us how your agency currently advertises or outreaches to fill positions, and if you partner with education, what works for you?
Yeah, so during a hiring process or during an open application process, we all obviously, like most of us, we use NeoGov and all of the online government job listings or platforms. We use our website and social media for proactive. A more proactive approach is I go out to community colleges where they're teaching either fire technology or EMT or paramedic programs. Next week, I'll be in Santa Rosa. The following week, I'll be down in Merced, and then up to the Siskiyous, talking about Metro Fire as an employer. As far as outreach goes, working with schools is really where we can make the most progress. We're making the most progress at the high school level, at the outreach level, the planting the seed. If there were 3 steps of recruitment in my book, it's that first planting the seed, right? That lucky moment that I described that each of us have. If we could reproduce that moment as often as we can, the better off we'll be. We do that. Career technical education is huge. I know that I'm talking to the subject matter experts right here, but our partnership with San Juan Unified School District through Del Campos Fire Technology is amazing. The opportunity for that to have culminated into this semester. We have student ride-alongs back in the stations. That's turned into an Explore program where 25 students a year will get an opportunity to be job shadowing and training and responding with and being mentored by our crews. I think that's huge. We're very grateful of the school district's partnership in that, going to career days and stuff like that. Again, giving people the information and the recipe to be successful at a time in their life when they have the opportunity to take advantage of stuff like that. We talk about the challenges of going to paramedic school. The farther we can push that back, and CTE is the answer, I believe, for that, to give the opportunity while the young person, all they have to really invest is time and dedication, as opposed to their resources when they could be earning money. Most of us, when we go out to recruit, what we do is we regurgitate our own story and our own process. You guys are the subject matter experts on the resources that are available to all of these individuals. If we come in with the recipe, if you will, or what success looks like, I lean on you guys to shore up what opportunities they have to support those types of pathways. We're also proud Army Pays partners. That's an opportunity to work through one of our branches of the military to offer interviews to qualified soldiers that utilize that program or the Army to get their needed qualifications. The Army does pay for EMT school and paramedic school and stuff like that. So do a couple of the other branches, the Air Force and the Coast Guard. That's about it. Everybody's getting in this game of really trying to outreach. And I think that's really embracing that term, and our responsibility as an industry to provide that information to where folks are pursuing their education is the space that we need to move into. So I appreciate you having me today to be able to do that. That's all I got.
Yes, thank you for that. Really appreciate hearing about the partnerships too with our military branches and Explorer programs and K-12 conduits. Lawrence, what, from your perspective, what works for advertising or outreach for positions? What current partnerships do you have in place?
Very similar to Tim White from Metro. Starting on the younger side of it, we do a lot of high school events. We do actually have 2 CTE, career technical education high schools in our area too that we do work with, Indercom and Valley High. We do have a youth academy, a Sacramento Fire Youth Academy. It's a 30-week academy where we have local Sacramento kids here. And we do a lot of firefighting and personal growth. What's kind of cool is we are at week 25. We started with 31 and we still have 31. So it's kind of good that we don't have anybody drop out because we're doing something good. And then going further along that path is, we do have our annual girls fire camp. Getting out of the high school arena, we do have our reserve program, which is like our volunteer organization that helps out the city of Sacramento, and our new EMS trainee. But other than that, it's just like Tim and I, we see each other at the same events every single time. Any and all events that people invite us to that we are able to get that information out, which is kind of what I alluded to earlier, is getting that information out and letting people know the process and clearing up the fog of what it is to become a firefighter. So that's kind of it on my side.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Clearing out the fog is a really good description. We sometimes talk at Valley Vision about what's behind the curtain and the process that people don't know about. Julie, we'll ask you the same question. What works for advertising and outreach to fill positions, and who do you currently partner with?
Okay, so I mirror just the same as City and Metro, like on our outreach. We utilize NeoGov, we utilize social media, we utilize Handshake, different applications to get out the word. But then I think more importantly, what we've all touched on is that we need to basically ignite people's fire much earlier than waiting until they're a senior in high school or till they're in college, that we need to get to the younger generation. And I love that like City has implemented programs, Metro has their programs. Ours, unfortunately, doesn't start until they're out of high school. We have a Med Pathways program through Cosumnes Oaks High School in Elk Grove, and we are working to launch a Explorer program. And I'm working actually with CRC to see about CTE program and how to make that work within our organization. Because we actually have 2 school districts, Galt and Elk Grove, that we serve. So trying to just navigate that. And then as a region, we promoted like a Footsteps to Fire that we did an outreach pre-COVID. And we're rebirthing that. We have some meetings coming up on how to implement and showcase like the job of being a firefighter, basically from 18 and older, and working with our community groups in like a 3-part series and do like little sessions where we talk about the job, but then we give them the hands-on. Like if we're talking about our gear, we're gonna like let them get in our gear so that they can almost like, if you see it, you can become it. And I think that's how I joined the fire service, was I saw a woman and I was baffled, like that woman is a firefighter. So, and I was older. This is long before high school. I was 24. So I think starting earlier and getting that passion and ignite their fire to join the fire service has to start much earlier.
Perfect. Thank you. And I'm going to ask the same question to you, Ariana, from CAL FIRE's perspective. What works for outreach and what partnerships do you have in place?
CAL FIRE, so what works for us is that we advertise through our Cal Careers website, through LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. But not only do we advertise online, we also participate in person through many different career fairs, events. We don't have formal partnerships with community college, but we do attend so many different events, which are so awesome. And then from there, we get a network to participate in future events as well. We conduct different presentations. For example, I gave one to a EMT2 class the other day about CAL FIRE. We also post on Handshake as well. We work closely with our RVETS program, which helps veterans transition back into civilian life and providing them with positions if they're not aware of different ones that they qualified for after they come out of the military. And then in addition, we also have Camp Cinder. So like Julie was saying, I absolutely and completely agree. Starting them young, Camp Cinder is a program for women between the age of 16 and 18 years old, providing them an opportunity to see and becoming a firefighter and seeing how it is and sparking that interest. And I know back in the day, I felt the same way as you did, Julie. I saw a firefighter up there and she was female and I was like, wow, if she could do it, I can do it. And I feel like that just definitely paved the way. And lastly, though, we also have student workers, and I completely agree, getting them started younger and providing them with that opportunity that I didn't know before starting with the state service, that they are taking state workers and getting your foot in the door that way, and then moving your way up, no matter what agency, preferably CAL FIRE, but no matter what agency that you go to, just getting the experience that you want and knowing and figuring out your passion in life, which I feel like is really important to start young.
Thank you. I have one more question for you all that will go around, and then if anybody has specific questions from the attendees, we'll open it up for that. Ariana, I'll just go ahead and start with you. Are there any specific suggestions that you have for how education and training partners can better prepare students for jobs in fire tech?
Absolutely. I say that my biggest suggestion on how education and training partners can better prepare students for the job and industry is to spread the word, and that you could begin working for the state, as I mentioned earlier, while you're still a student. You can, which is really awesome. We have a student worker right now. She handles a lot of our social media, and she is able to work a certain amount of days, thankfully. And we're just so appreciative for her help. And just be able to start off as early as you can, which is amazing, provides you not only with that opportunity, but also with the experience and getting to know the department and the different positions and being able to see yourself go and wanting to tailor where you want to lead in life. And I feel like this is the best way to begin your career in state service, is by getting your feet wet in the public sector and seeing which departments align with your passion in life. And I also believe that attending career fairs and learning that some departments are not just it's overall known for, but knowing that the state offers so many different jobs that anybody would be great for. If I could suggest one more thing that I would encourage your students to do is not only attend career fairs, but for instructors to host mock interviews in the classrooms and to prepare their students for fairs and future job interviews. I know that was super beneficial for myself. And when I was able to land this dream job here at CAL FIRE, I know that having my professors prepare me for being comfortable and talking about what I've experienced in the past and what I've known to led me to where I want to be in life, I feel like was super beneficial.
Great, thank you. Thanks for the specific suggestions too. Chris, what are your thoughts on any specific suggestions our education and training partners can do to help prepare students for jobs with U.S. Forest Service?
I think what you guys are doing now is great. I think that trying to make those connections, echoing what everybody's saying with the outreach and always being able to do more. I think this is a great opportunity for folks looking to get into the fire sector. We didn't have stuff like this 20 years ago when I was getting in. Just to have the opportunity here to meet professionals and to kind of get a different take on what they have to offer is huge. And just reiterating, the U.S. Forest Service, it's a different opportunity than what's being presented from these other agencies. A lot of folks come through us and end up there. What you get here is just more of a different kind of experience where you're going to be challenged in different ways. All of these agencies, you will. What the Forest Service has to offer is kind of experience driven. You're going to be in rugged terrain. You're going to be in places that you would have never traveled in your life. You know, we're a resource across the nation. You know, I spent a month last year in Alaska on the Kenai and up off the Yukon. And that's just something that you don't really find anywhere other than the federal agencies. And I think with that, it's you weigh out, eventually you're going to want to be monetarily driven if you're going to want to succeed in society. But when you're starting out, you can be monetarily driven or you can be experience driven. You get a ton of great experience with the U.S. Forest Service, getting to see things, meet people, be a part of something that is hard to duplicate in life. You know, when you've got a fire pushing towards South Lake Tahoe and you're on that crew that's securing that neighborhood, like it's hard to find things in life that have that grain of life to them. So that's just my little my set off with the U.S. Forest Service. Obviously, I didn't like blood and trauma, so I didn't go the structure route. In all respects to you guys that do it. I found my place at the head of a fire, and I enjoyed that, and it's a fun opportunity, and I really enjoyed it.
Yes, thank you so much. Thanks for explaining kind of the differences and uniqueness of working for the U.S. Forest Service. Lawrence, what has worked well, and not what has worked well, but what other specific suggestions would you have for education and training partners to better prepare folks for these jobs?
Yeah, thanks. One of the things I would recommend is, I get this a lot, and I'm sure my counterparts do as well, is that kind of broad, generic, oh, I have my firefighter 1, I'm ready to be a firefighter. Well, do you have all these? And some people say no, and also the age requirements. So one of my recommendations for training partners or schools out there is just to invite people from different departments, because even though we're all very, very similar, we each have our own one or two things that are different about our minimum requirements, and that can alleviate some of that fog that I was talking about. And then also you have a representative of the department, so people can ask questions and relate to them, ask them more specific questions. So that's the one thing I'd recommend, and that would clear up a lot of confusion out there, because there are some departments out there that only hire EMTs. You know, even if you have your paramedic, they will only hire you as an EMT, whereas there's also some departments that only hire paramedics. So that can definitely guide and steer prospective students a certain way. And my recommendation for prospective firefighters out there is to just better yourself. Any type of education, any type of work experience, you know, obviously work experience as an EMT or a paramedic is key, but any type of job that builds you, that builds your resume, builds your character, is not going to hurt you in the end. And that's my biggest recommendation.
Thank you so much. Tim, from your perspective, what specific suggestions for education and training do you have?
Yeah, I'm going to keep piling on. Both Chris and Lawrence hit on it. That I believe our industry can benefit most from accurate information delivery and pathway support. One, not all fire jobs are the same, because not all fire agencies are the same. We don't have the same needs, and our communities that we serve have different needs and resources. For us to be able to give that information so that a student or a young person can work on defining their desired end state and work towards the pathway that they need to take to their desired end state. I think that's key. I know that in the high school level or younger, they don't necessarily know their desired end state, but at the college level, they're honing in on where they want to work. And to pile on again to Lawrence, what I would say to future firefighters here is you have the opportunity these days to aim small to miss small. Really learn about what a district or a department has to offer you, and when it turns into a job for you, and when you're trading time for dollars, we're going to look pretty hard at you. You should invest the same in yourself and your future self and your future family to look for an agency that's going to fit you for an entire healthy happy 30-year career. Number two, the more often that we can plant the seed or make the suggestion that this career is a viable option for individuals, that we are people that work on these rigs, that something between the images that they see when they're very young. You know, we're not really Paw Patrol, but we're also not Chicago Fire, right? That we're real people that go out and earn a living and do a job. And then purposefully and transparently talk about the needs of the public that we serve from that individual, then provide multiple clear pathways towards what success looks like. We do those things and our workforce will just be healthier and more sustainable moving forward.
Thank you, Paw Patrol. That's great. And Julie, bring us home on this question. What can our education and training partners do better?
How can I top that? Seriously, Lawrence and Tim, it's great. Like, I think for us, like the soft skills, like, you know, people get in the fire service because, or public safety because they want to serve people, they want to help people. That's what drives them, that maybe compassion and empathy. But like on the interview side, like that's where people struggle. We are very technologically savvy people now, but maybe not as good at communicating. So really helping students to focus on like communicating one-on-one or in a group session, like how to make eye contact and address all the people that are in the room instead of just focusing on one person. I think that always helps. And then any of the like physical demands, being a firefighter, being the physically demand, like one of our outreach, working with people in sports, because you know that they're already like they already know about team spirit and teamwork ethic. That's how the fire service is. And then like creating mentorship opportunities. And that's where my agency has struggled. Like we don't have, due to funding in the past, like we had like a kids camp that was directed at like age to 11 to 14, that we're trying to bring that back. We're trying to bridge the gap of the like bringing back an Explore program to our area. And again, and I hope those are the ways that we can, you know, better serve and outreach.
Yeah, thank you. Definitely the pandemic sunset a lot of things that were effective or were just starting. And so getting those back up and going, completely understand that. Are there any questions from our attendees before we move to the community colleges, having the floor for a few minutes? Anybody have a question? You can raise your virtual hand or you can put the question in the chat. What works best for you?
May I just say something? Because I'm trying to find my virtual hand. I'm on a different.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. One thing I don't know that we touched on is like firefighters, especially in the municipal area, we live together for 48 hours. So it kind of creates that like family atmosphere. And that's a difficult piece too, that, you know, cooking, cleaning. So all of those different things kind of come under that umbrella of being a firefighter. It's not just the skill-based. So sometimes when I think somebody touched on it, like, do they fit? Like, do they fit the organization? Like that's part of it too, is having some of those life skills.
Yeah, understanding the whole realities of the job, it sounds like. Thank you for calling that out. Any questions? I'm just giving it a second of awkward silence in case someone needs a minute. Okay, I am going to, first of all, join me in giving a hand to our panel. You can virtual hand or whatever works for you, but we really want to thank you to our panel participants because this was a significant amount of time that you provided today and also in a pre-planning call. We know you're very busy and you're very short-staffed, which was clearly articulated here. So, but we appreciate you investing with the education and training partners so that we can help expand and diversify the pipeline to help resolve some of these challenges that you all are facing. I'm going to give it over to Karen Hubbard, Associate Director of Employer Partnerships, to highlight community college offerings in this area.
Oh my gosh, I think every single one of, I'm having some technical issues here too. I keep seeing myself freeze up. So I don't know if you want me to turn off my camera, if you can hear me.
You're good right now, Karen.
I really like Sarah's, I think it was Sarah or Ebony's graphic that kind of showed the different programs under fire and the different campuses. I think there were a few left out, like Casumas River has an academy as well. And I saw in the chat, somebody else had something missing, Yuba for their EMT1. So that's why this forum is wonderful, so that the agencies can see what the community colleges offer, and the community colleges can see what the agencies are looking for. And so that's been fabulous. So right now, I have invited Cameron Whitfield with Handshake, and he works at under Casumas River College, because it did get brought up. I think Julie brought it up as a job placement board, and I'm not sure if the agencies are fully aware of that ability to be able to not only post positions, but internships and events through Handshake. And Handshake, I don't want to take over too much of Cameron's stuff, but it's just strictly Los Rios right now. So when we're talking about Handshake in this, I don't know if it, and he can talk more about this, if it crosses over to the other districts that have Handshake available. I'm not sure how that particularly works, but I'm going to let Cameron work on this and kind of let everybody know that this is a really wonderful option for you guys.
Thank you. There we go. And thank you for inviting me to talk today. Like, I'm going to be switching up a few of my talking points, like taking, listening to all the needs that everyone has here, and, try to address them as I discuss Handshake and its offerings. So my name is Cameron Whitfield. I am the internship developer for the work experience program at Casumas River College. My primary role is the list is long, like everyone is here, supporting students in becoming job and internship ready, doing like one-on-one work, but I also host weekly career workshops as well. And I work with our employer partners on campus and across the district. And I know I work with a few of my colleagues here, like Ray Cost and Karen Hubbard and a few other folks here, to really bring internships to our students. So next slide, please. So just to give you an overview of what it is, Handshake is like the biggest and the best career platform that's kind of on the block right now. More and more colleges and universities are switching over to Handshake. And I just did the updated check this morning. In the 75-mile radius of Sacramento, there are 26 colleges and universities who use Handshake, and that's just in our area. And their mission is to ensure that the hiring process and access to opportunities is fair and equitable, and it's a very proactive platform for students and for employers. And we've been, I think that's on the next slide. So next slide, please. So just give, so since 2020, there are, and even this number is out of date now, we have currently probably 27,000 plus students who are actively using Handshake. And we have 6,000 employers who are on the platform as well, who are seeking students. And for both students and employers, it is a free platform for everyone. On the student side, students have a profile within Handshake already. They just sign in with their normal student login, fill out some basic questions, and they will start getting relevant information based on their major and what their interests are. So it's a very relevancy centered platform as well. And next slide, please. And like Karen was saying, Handshake is more than just a job platform. What makes us unique over like Indeed and LinkedIn, is this is a very proactive platform. So students can message you as an employer if they have questions about your position. As an employer, you can see the student, you can actively outreach to students based on their major or interest and invite them to apply to your positions. A big one is events. So in addition to just doing career events or job fairs, you know, Handshake, you know, you talk about, think about what all the needs and the challenges that you all have, from thinking about bringing awareness, not just to your positions, but what students need and how to prepare. You can schedule events talking about what your requirements are, walking through like what the application process looks like. We've had other agencies who, like through like state agencies who've done workshops on the Cal careers and how to be successful in filling out those applications. Something that I encourage employers to do as well. You know, all my team across this district bring in employers to, you know, do their information sessions to talk about their positions. But something that my team and I are really encouraging employers to do is to host those interview workshops, those resume workshops. Because one of the great but challenging things about what I do as internship developer is I have to learn a little bit about, you know, so many different careers and resume formats and different options, which is great. I love my job. But I think when students have the ability to talk to you directly and to learn from the people who are doing the hiring, that just elevates that student experience. So all the things we talked about today, you know, schedule an event and talk with students. And all the way through to how do you be successful in the role as, you know, being a firefighter, the various positions that you highlighted. So talking about those soft skills and how to be successful to help students think about what they need to prepare for. One of the other advantages of Handshake is, you know, when you post a position, you just have to post it once. And it's visible to students across all 4 of our campuses: American River College, Costumnes, Sacramento City, and Folsom. So that's, you know, a big advantage that I don't want employers like very much. And we have the ability to be nimble in our marketing and support. So versus just, you know, posting on a platform like Indeed, I can send out a direct targeted email to relevant majors to get it in front of students who need to see it.
Cameron, I'm going to interrupt you for just a second, because some of our instructors that are profiling their programs have to get to an 11:30 class. So if what we can do is move forward into the program profiles and then come back to the rest of the Handshake presentation, if that will work. Oh, absolutely. Thank you so much. Yeah, and thank you so much. And I think Dale is up first from Yuba College. I know, Karen, if you wanted to introduce or.
Yes, I'd like to introduce Dale, and I'm going to mess up your last name, so my apologies. Let's see how well I do. Vogelsang?
Nailed it. Yes.
All right. And he is from Yuba College. So thank you very much for your patience.
You bet. No problem. And sorry for cutting in on your time, Cameron. I just got to go do my job, trying to get some folks into the fire service. It's kind of our goal here. Just going to talk real quickly about our program. A lot of it, I'm sure, is similar to all the folks local here. So if I can go to the next slide, please, that'd be great. So I'm going to talk quickly about our fire academies, our degree and certificate programs. We have a new program that didn't get in my slide because it's so new to me also. And then a little bit about career training, mid-year career training, and our new dual enrollment program at two different cohorts, different high schools. Slide, please. So looking kind of a snapshot of our students, fire academies and degree programs are the majority of where we're providing training for students. Very recently, we've increased our career training capacity, focusing on driver operator and the company officer series. Slide, please. So our fire academies, we have the Firefighter 1 Academy that we run it as a Monday through Friday in both fall and spring. We have one academy with EMT and one without EMT. So the one with EMT embedded, they have to take a prerequisite class before, public safety first aid or higher. And then the other academy has that prerequisite, and it doesn't include that EMT course. We've also revised our CAL FIRE Basic. We were providing a CAL FIRE Basic under CAL FIRE's umbrella to our local unit here. However, we've changed our curriculum to the Basic Wildland Academy, the Firefighter 1C, if you will, from the Firefighter 1 curriculum, mainly getting folks just trained for seasonal jobs on hand crew. And that program may or may not continue in its same form moving forward. We also offer our Firefighter 1, or correction, Firefighter 2 Academy in spring. We offer that after our Firefighter 1. Slide, please. Just some of the stuff we do, pretty common to everybody, right? Training grounds are pretty well designed. Next slide, please. See if the video plays. And since we don't have audio, she's talking about how great our program is. We can just fill in the gap there. All right, next slide. Hopefully one more. Go. There we go. So our degrees and certificates, we have associates degrees and certificates in both fire technology and fire academy. Basic fire technology program designed on the FESI model for the 6 required core classes. And then our fire academy has a certificate and associates has a different additional units required for students to accomplish that. We've also just developed a forestry centric certificate. We're meeting with an advisory group here in the Yuba County watershed. This program was sponsored and we received a grant from Yuba Water Agency to look at protecting the watershed up here and working with partners from forestry and private industry. They're helping us design that program. We've already got 2 kind of main routes to take in that certificate. One is a forestry health and watershed management focus, and the other one being a mitigation or prevention focus, including the basic wildland course, hazmat, FRO course, and some others to look at, the 2 sides of this, from prevention and health to the other category of if something happens and if you're out in the field, how can we make sure the hazardous materials aren't going to harm the environment, the watershed, that kind of thing. Next slide, please. Our career training, kind of a mid-career, we offer driver operator 3 times a year now. We have increased our fleet of apparatus. So our next class, folks who want to come get driver operator will not need to bring an apparatus. That's usually one of the criteria. However, our fleet has been reinforced so we can offer that class without having folks bring their own apparatus. We offer FRO Decon and Hazmat Incident Commander in our fall and spring courses. That the Hazmat Incident Commander is a prerequisite for our company officer course. So we have started teaching our company officer series in fully hybrid. As far as we know, we think we're the only one doing it this way so far. The hybrid format has multiple Zoom sessions that are conducted online with one in-seat live session at our campus. Next slide, please. Dual enrollment is our newest program. We started this in fall of this last year. So we're teaching the Fire Tech 1 and Fire Tech 2 courses to our high school campus. I travel to several high school campuses with 2 different cohorts. This first year is looking at those 2 core classes, but we've designed 2 new courses for dual enrollment students specifically. One is Public Safety Careers Introduction, covers law enforcement, fire service, EMS, and touches on dispatch. Then the other course for that first year student is going to be a semester-long dispatch class. So we're kind of revamping our program based on feedback from the high schools to best meet their needs and really understand which route folks want to go in the public safety realm. For us, we will put those together. Next slide, please. Just some of the different things we do. Next slide. Just some changes we're looking forward for the next year. We're going to continue our academy without EMT. We're talking to our advisory group about making both of our academies include the Firefighter 2. That may be an option for us in moving the EMT out of one of our academies. We're going to continue with those driver operator and company officer courses. And we're going to look at more schools to participate with dual enrollment programs. I definitely took notes about Del Campo High, Inderkum, and Valley High. Sac City folks will definitely be in your ear to understand how those programs work and see if we can engage some of our partners up here for similar programs. That's all I've got. Thank you very much for your time. If there are any questions, I can help out with that.
Any questions for Dale? Okay.
Hearing crickets.
Yes. I think there's a few more community college folks that wanted to talk briefly about their programs, but don't have slides. So maybe we can go to full screen and see each other, those that are here. Okay, Karen, who's up next?
Let's see. Let's go with Jason Hemler from Sierra College and their fire program.
Hey everyone, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen if that's okay. Host disabled participant screen sharing.
Oh, let us give you co-hosting. Gustavo, can you do that?
Yes, try it again, Jason.
Perfect. All right, so yeah, real quick, following Dale, thanks Dale, actually basically went over pretty much everything we do in our program as well. We do a lot of mirroring as far as youth is concerned. We offer everything that they offer. We do have we offer EMT, a 16-week semester as well as 8-week courses. I think we have 4 to 5 a semester that we offer in sections. We do offer a Firefighter 1 and Firefighter 2 Academy. We offer 3 academies a year. We offer 2 in Roseville. Those academies are nights and weekends, pretty much 7 days a week. And then our academy up in Grass Valley runs in the January cohort only, and that's a 16-week academy. So that's a full-time Monday through Friday, 16-week academy, pretty favorable for the agencies to use. So Roseville, Rockland, would possibly use those academies to put their people through because they're a little bit faster. We do have firefighter certifications as well as AS and AS degrees in firefighting. We also offer a associates in company officer. That's a popular degree with the current professional firefighters that are already online, already have a job, and they want to get their AA, finish that up. They can get that in company officer. We offer everything like Dale was saying. We offer driver operator. We offer hazmat. We do offer all the state fire training courses, the 1-week short-term courses. We also offer a chief officer certificate, which is, I don't think that UBA offers that, but we offer a company officer 1-week module in 5 different classes. And then we also offer a chief officer. That's 190 through 193. The chief officer 3A through 3D series. So basically our Firefighter 1 and 2 Academy is the same thing. We offer the training simultaneously, and then they do their state testing the week after the Academy. So when they graduate our Academy, they will have their Firefighter 1, they'll have their EMT, and they'll have their Firefighter 2 ready to be marked off. And what that means is basically they're going to be able to they have their task book open for their firefighter 2, and they'll be able to get a job, and within 6 months to a year, they'll have that firefighter 2 marked off, is what that means. What else can I tell you guys about the program? Really, that's kind of it in a nutshell. We do have many of our cadets, because of our Nevada County presence and Grass Valley and those departments up there in the foothills that do hire EMTs because they're unable to really hire paramedics. We do have a lot of our cadets get jobs before they're even graduated from the academy, which is nice. Between CAL FIRE, Grass Valley, Nevada County, Placer Hills, a lot of them are doing their internships or are getting picked up right away when they get done with that academy. Do a lot of mentoring, of course. I spend a lot of my time working with the Tim White and Lawrence Wang and the recruiters because our students are, you know, they're right for the picking, right there, getting ready to get those jobs. Real quick, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but also just so you guys are aware, I'm also the program director for the Sac State Paramedic Program and EMT program. So I do work a lot with city and metro and consume this with our programs and trying to staff their paramedics. The main thing really, listening to all the questions and answers about the paramedic shortage and the problems with trying to staff paramedics and having them go to the Bay Area. I'll tell you, a lot of it is internships. I mean, we place our students as interns with your agencies so that they can get to know and like those agencies, right? And a lot of the time, every time we ask them, where do you want to do an internship? And we place them with where they want to work. Unfortunately, especially with Consumnes and Metro, we're unable to place a lot of our paramedic interns there because of a lack of preceptors. So that's a shortage as well. We need to have more preceptors with those agencies. And then again, a problem with the agency as well is that they're always hiring. So when they're hiring, they have new hires riding along on their ambulances, so they're unable to take paramedic interns. So it's really a full circle kind of a problem. You know, everybody comes to me and says, why can't you educate more paramedics? Well, we can only educate so many paramedics that we can place in the field. That's a law. It's a Title 22 thing. And as a paramedic school, we are not allowed to educate, let's say 100 paramedics a year, if we can only place 40 of them in a field internship, and the rest of them have to wait a year to do that. That's unfair to the student. So we have to have that relationship. So my only suggestion there would be to try to have a better relationship between the field providers, the HR departments, and the recruitment departments. There's a disconnect between all three. And we have those paramedic interns that are riding along with Metro Fire and really want to work for Metro Fire. But all that does is it doesn't do anything for them because HR has a different process and recruitment has a different process. And so it's the mentoring. And Tim does a great job of mentoring our students as well, and regular students. When he comes and talks to my Fire Tech 1 class at Sierra College and getting those guys their foot in the door. So that's really it. Internships, I'd say, is just a detachment between the HR and the hiring, trying to get those paramedics, because they're out there and they want to work for you and they want to work for your agency, especially the three that are here, Consumnes and City and Metro. A lot of my paramedic students, they want to work there. That's where they choose to work. So just a matter of getting them on board.
Thanks so much, Jason. We appreciate
you. Any questions?
Yeah, thank you so much. And if you have any questions, you can go ahead and put them in the chat. I think we might have one or two other colleges I might want to profile, and then there's some information from a handshake that will be completed. I'm going to go ahead. I know it's almost 11:30 and that's how much time we had you all commit to. We're going to be staying on to providing that additional information, but if you do have to go, we understand. I'm also going to drop a link in the chat for a survey. If you could take that real quick, just a couple of questions before you drop off, we'd appreciate it. We'll also send it out in a post-event email where all materials shared today will be sent to you. But Karen, I'll hand it back to you for whatever additional community colleges are available. And I know Cameron has yet to finish his presentation.
Right, Cameron needs to leave by 11:50, but he said he only has one slide, and I've asked him just to kind of tell you how you can partner with Handshake. So let's kick it over to Rick Haas with Consumnes.
Okay, thank you. And if I could have screen share too, please, I'll just pop up our website so you guys can see that. Good morning, everybody. It's always great to be last.
Oh, you're second to last.
Second to last, yeah. See if I can share my screen here. And there we go. All right, so we offer the same type of educational opportunities as Yuba College and Sierra College. We have been running a program called our internship since 1987. And then we've been running an actual fire academy for 18 years. And then we just recently, 3 years ago, got our regionally accredited training program. So we're actually a state accredited academy. We offer the same thing as Firefighter 1, Firefighter 2. And then we have our degrees and certificates. You can actually get a fire prevention degree. You can get a fire technology degree. And then we also offer our certificates as well. We changed this up a while ago to a fire suppression specialist certificate, which gives the individual what they need to go and begin testing in for different fire departments. We require EMT to get into our fire academy. We do not allow the student to not have an EMT. So that way they basically, we have that hook in them. They get that done first, then they go into their fire academy. And then a lot of coaching and mentoring, like Himmler was saying, as far as getting the kids to go to paramedic school. We send our students to American River College paramedic program, and we also send our students to Sac State's paramedic program. He's gotten quite a few of our students over the past few years. So we have been able to have one thing that's unique in our program is we offer a fire internship in the stations. So the students go through the academy in the fall. They get their structural, their wildland, and their hazardous materials. And then in the spring, they go through a Firefighter 2 academy while simultaneously working one 24-hour shift every week in the fire station. And they alternate between an ambulance and a fire engine, and they'll do that for a year and a half. What that affords us the opportunity to do is the task book that Jason was talking about that has to get signed off working somewhere else. We actually afford that opportunity to them, where our training division, we track all of their task book for their Firefighter 2. So when they graduate, they leave with Firefighter 1, Firefighter 2, and emergency medical technician. And hopefully we've got them pushed into the direction of a paramedic program. That is what we're out there. We're seeing a great need for paramedics in the both private and in the public sector. So we're trying to get these young people everything they need. As speaking to the recruitment and retention portion of this, we're actually taking on at the college level recruitment and retention as well. I've been going to local high schools as the fire tech coordinator and as the academy lead instructor and talking to all the FFA agricultural programs. These are blue collar high school programs, and we're inviting these people into a blue collar profession. And we're competing against TikTok and Instagram and all the influencers and everything that are making $12,000, $15,000 a year by making a few videos. And we're starting out early. We're going there and talking to the freshmen. Then we come back and talk to the sophomores. We're even recommending that the students can actually go into their EMT class while they're a senior in high school as an elective. If you go to a community college as a senior, you literally get 3-to-1 credits towards your high school diploma. Not only do you get to keep your college units, it's 3-to-1. So for the EMT program at CRC, it's 7.5 units. They get literally 22.5 elective units. So their senior year, they don't have to take basket weaving. They can go in and take their EMT class, and then we'll satisfy all of their requirements. So we're really trying to get the word out there that this is a good, viable career that you can raise your family and provide an excellent opportunity for these students that don't want to go into tech industry or into other fields. So I put the link on the onto the chat for you guys, and then there's video if anybody wants to look at it and all that. That's all built into this website. And that's it. Thank you guys very much. And I have to get off. I'm already late for my next appointment. So thank you guys very much.
Thanks, Rick. All right, Ken, you've been patiently waiting in your vehicle. Thank you so much. Ken Klong from American River College.
You're welcome, Karen. Thank you. Hi, everyone. So yes, I am sitting in my car. It's proof that we can do everywhere, anytime, any place. It doesn't matter what's going on in the fire service. So I'm the interim coordinator at American River College, and we currently offer both a fall semester non-affiliated fire academy as well as a fire investigate or a fire academy completion certificate. Coupled with, if you complete your fire investigator courses through us, you can also get your fire investigation certificate as well. Our academic program is also fully online for the majority of it. We went online in 2017, and we have been able to accommodate many current fire service members in allowing them to complete their associates or fire technology certificate for promotional enhancements, career enhancements, or pay incentives. Other than that, I can't really say too much more than what Rick Haas or Jason Hemler have said, so I will open it up to any questions and happy to see what I can do for you.
Okay, so if we can bounce back to Cameron's last slide, anybody who has not been, is not familiar with Handshake, I think it's a great opportunity for your organizations.
Yeah, thank you. And the last point I wanted to make before the instructions is, what I tell students about, the career exploration and, all that good stuff is thinking outside the box. So going back to getting different kind of classrooms to help students think about all these different, possibilities they may not even thought about before. So it's a really good way to get that direct student contact. So creating a student count is an employer count is very easy. I'll send the instructions along after the meeting today. But once you create an account, Handshake, reviews it and approves you. And then once you're approved as an employer, it takes 10, 15 minutes max to post your position. And then you can share your opportunity with multiple schools in the area, of course, partial or Los Rios, of course, but there's, like I said, you can post it to multiple schools at the same time, which is fantastic. And then once you post it, it goes into a pending folder to be reviewed by one of our team members. And we do our best to get your positions approved as quickly as possible. And then what we would, something I like to do is, share it out with the relevant departments that you highlight to get that first initial boost. So it's very easy. If you have all the information, you can put it in, when you're setting up the position. The key thing here, because it sounds like a trend with everyone here, you can have students apply externally, so you can link right to your website. So it's when students apply, apply for this position, it'll take them right to your website to apply. So you don't need to have your apply link in the body of your description. So you can have all the instructions right up top. So that's kind of in a nutshell. If you're interested in doing needing like exploring the platform, or think about what kind of events you can want to promote. I know my colleagues across the district would be more than happy to have that conversation, or do a trainings with your teams. I'll connect you to the right person if it's not. So I highly encourage you to use the platform because it's how nimble it is, and there has been a success rate in hiring students through there. So thank you for your time. And I put my contact information in the chat. But if any questions, just feel free to reach out to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Cameron. And I think that wraps up all of our afternoon speakers. Thank you for hanging out with us.
Yes, thanks everyone for hanging in there, and all of the panelists and the program descriptions. We have that survey link. We'd really appreciate it if you filled out the post survey. We will be following up with an email after that with a lot of these details. And again, this recording will be on our website, so will meeting notes, and so will the PowerPoint presentation. So we will make sure that all of this information continues to be accessible to you. And thank you so much for coming out and hanging in there with us as we went a little bit over today.